My name is Dr. Monica Boehle, and I'm the Associate Director of High School Curriculum in St. Charles, Illinois. I'm a former instructional coach, I'm a National Board Certified Social Studies teacher, and I love all things education. Today, I'm going to talk to you about a topic called Wait Time 2. So let's start at the beginning. What is wait time? Wait time refers to practices where the teacher, the instructor, just deliberately pause. Wait time 1 is after you pose a question, you wait. 1, 2, 3. It's the pause between asking the question and getting the answer. This demonstrates that the question is not rhetorical. It presumes that all kids at least think about what's being asked and realize that perhaps a question was asked. I recorded a previous podcast about wait time 1. Ask a question, wait. That episode is worth a listen, so consider how to add that pause into your speaking. But today's episode is about wait time 2. Wait time 2 is actually used after the answer is provided. So it goes like this. Ask a question, 1, 2, 3. Get a student response, and then 1, 2, 3. You wait. You wait after the response. This time provides students with time to think, try to think about how they might respond to their peer, what they might add to their answer, and try to get a little bit more thoughtful and dig deeper into what they want to say. While this deliberate pause sounds super simple, it's really actually quite difficult. As teachers, we really resist silence in the classroom. We find it really difficult. And as somebody from the Midwest, I talk fast, I think fast, I respond quickly. I want to show somebody that I'm listening, so I start talking, or as they're talking, I'm thinking about what I'm going to say. And all of that is what we're trying to stop. It is different than the kind of questioning that we refer to as the IRE. The IRE is the teacher interrogates by posing a question, a student responds, and the teacher evaluates the response. What color is the sky? The sky is blue. Good. Boom, boom, boom. The teacher is dominating the conversation. The key here is to avoid asking students to produce a response that matches a predetermined question. Well, that might be necessary, like you're reviewing some basic fluency type things or some lower level questions to review. We're talking about those higher level conversations that dig at conceptual knowledge where kids are trying to think about divergent answers. So why is this important? Now, I actually am going to contextualize this episode with a little bit of research. I love research so much, and it challenges me to think about my own practice. With people newer to education, I like to validate the practices that are supported by research so we can invest in them and we can dismiss less effective strategies. So what do we know? We know from research that in grades 6 through 12, teachers talk somewhere between 70 and 80% of class time on average. There have been studies that show that in a given day, it is possible that a student doesn't speak at all in any of the classes. John Hattie, who is famous for developing his visible learning, where he ranks influences by analyzing meta-studies and meta-analyses, he looks at the effect size of different types of instructional methods. And there are 4 that land in a very high effect size, and that is classroom discussion, elaboration, self-verbalization, and questioning. If we know that learners need to do 70% of the talking and 30% of the listening, and teachers are talking 70% of the time, guess who's doing the learning? One of my colleagues used to say this a lot when I worked with her. The person doing the talking is the person doing the learning. And so the learners must be center stage. This cannot happen when you are doing most of the talking and most of the leading in the questioning. So wait time 2 slows it down and provides the space for the students to talk. So what else can it do? I want to also connect this to something called dialogic teaching. And this is about ongoing talk between teachers and students, not just teacher presentation. So how does wait time relate to this? If we know those who are doing the talking are doing the learning, this helps them really think about who are they talking to. Often when a teacher poses a question, the student is answering to the teacher. So that means that you are having, as the teacher, lots of mini conversations with lots of individual students in it at an audience. There is not really an expectation that students listen to each other. And so when we talk about wait time too, it builds in an opportunity for students to start thinking about what other students are saying. And that's where we start to get to dialogic teaching. It's the ongoing conversation as a group, as a class. When we provide that wait time too, we know that there are studies, there's one by Yare and Hattie in the year 2000, also related to visible learning, that we see higher quality answers. There's more thoughtfulness, there's more detail. It increases the participation, especially for quieter students. And even though it slows down instruction, it actually creates a more efficient lesson because you can spend more time on the most important things. So you wait, the student responds, and you just let that response settle over the class. A lot of times the students will add to their answer. That's what we want. Sometimes other students will respond to their answer. One phrase I've used with my students before is, let's admire that response. So it's sometimes awkward with the quietness, so you can have some prompting questions. You want to get away from the what questions and get to the how questions and the why questions. How did you do that? How did you get to that response? Why did you do it that way? And once we start moving away from what to how and why, the responses become more complex and they can reason through it. This also encourages the active listening. One other really great benefit of Wait Time 2, this incredibly simple device, is actually about social emotional learning and belonging. If students have realized that they're going to be listened to, it makes them feel valued. It can kind of change our beliefs about students because what wait time actually is thinking time and processing time. We know that when teachers ask students questions, they typically wait less than a second for a response. That's such an incredibly fast processing time. So let's put that in the context of a multilingual learner or a learner with special needs or struggling students who need time to process and respond, and we keep the pace of class too fast. The more wait time we give, the more we're able to see what every student can do. So, what are the students doing? This is where they start listening to each other. Maybe they build on a response. Maybe they challenge a response. But we do see positive outcomes from this relatively straightforward strategy. And this is where they develop the thinking, reasoning, and language skills that they figure out how their response is really formulated. So ultimately, when in education we talk about accountability and that we want students to be accountable to their learning, wait time is about that accountability. They're doing what you're asking them to do. All this thinking is that thinking about accountability. It builds the SEL, it builds the community, and it really helps show the power of your students. So let's talk about how to do it because, again, you got to live with a little bit of awkwardness here. First of all, you need to ask good questions. Pose the questions. There are some times when you have to do like the rapid response, but this is when we're really engaged with tough thinking that we really want kids to process through. As a teacher, you want to be neutral, non-committal, and you want to be warm to keep the flow going. So you want to be encouraging, but do not praise. That's the key here. You're not saying you're right or good. You're really looking for them to add to their answer. So, how long should you wait? This kind of depends on the complexity of the question, the ability of the students, and really what you're trying to get at with the clarity of that question. Remember, lower level questions will take most students 1 to 3 seconds to answer. Questions that require that complex thinking generally need at least 4 to 6 seconds. Higher order questions may even be longer to formulate that reply. Now, remember, we do have to kind of be explicit to our students that this is what we're attempting to do. And so, with that encouragement of, I do want you to jump in, or I do want you to affirm each other and challenge and support and build, that's going to help build that culture. But you might find that you might need a few prompting questions. Can you explain that in another way? What do you mean by that? What makes you say that? One of my favorites is just the neutral, can you tell me more? Sometimes the teacher is really skilled at doing the with a head nod, where it encourages the student to just keep talking. Students may not always be able to add to their answer. Maybe they're still in a processing stage, but wait time 2 is an opportunity that we're giving them the space to occupy to really get to a response. Slow down that pace of instruction. Instead of going at that fast pace, this encourages student participation and encourages that discourse. So, wait after the student response. That's wait time 2. Emphasize that we are engaging with each other's ideas and contributions rather than always the instructor. So, why use wait time 2? It's actually very easy. There's no prep that you really need, besides having some good questions. It is a little harder to implement, especially recognizing the cognitive load of teaching. There's a high payoff for many types of learners, and it builds that classroom environment demonstrating that active listening. So give it a try. Wait time 2. Can't wait to hear about the success that you have with your students. Signing off for today, this is Dr. Monica Boehle.
Thanks for listening to today's New Teacher Talk episode. Stay connected with us on Instagram and Blue Sky at New Teacher Talk, where we share our Tuesday teacher resource and Thursday thought each week. Tap that follow button and spread the word, whether you're in your first classroom or finding your footing. We're here to support your teaching journey.